Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Seductive Poison, the Resurgence. This is going to be another triple threat review show, and here in a little bit, I'm going to be talking about Alligator, Alone in the Dark, Hey Blissful, and American Gothic. So we're going to get to that in just a little bit. I've got my M&Ms on hand here. I have felt like I needed something. So I'm sorry to always be eating on these streams. It seems I'm forever eating. And I'm also sorry that my hair's a little crazy. I did take a little cat nap before doing the stream. But let's get some housekeeping stuff out of the way, and then we're going to get to these movies. So once again, I want to let everybody know that I have some new designs on my TeePublic store, including a design for the TMI show that Jay and I did, and a couple of movie munchies designs. And hey, Kathy. Yes, Blissful, you are exactly right. Movies and snacks go together. So that's my out, I guess. So once again, I'm going to put the link for my TeePublic store in the chat. And if you feel compelled, you want to buy a shirt or a mug or a pillow or whatever with one of these designs for another day, all designs are $16 on the t-shirts. And the mugs, if you want a coffee mug or a hot cocoa mug or whatever with one of these designs on it, I think they're $12 right now. So everything on the site is like 35% off or something like that. So what have I got coming up for the rest of the week? Of course, tomorrow will be a midday with Dana and Jay. It might just be a catch-all show because I haven't really thought of any particular theme. Jay hasn't, messaged me and told me any themes that he would like to cover. So we may just get on there and kind of BS a little bit, which is not a terrible thing to do. It's, it's fun. I'm also going to soon have designs for t-shirt designs for Midday with Dana and Jay. And I'm really excited about working on that one in particular. I think you guys are really going to dig it. And also got some commercials in the works I think are going to be very entertaining for both the TMI show and I don't know what that is. Okay. Anyway, it was a notification from Facebook about blocking people. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to have all that coming up. So y'all stay tuned for any and all of those things. Also, I've got a couple of watch-alongs in the movie Munchies this weekend. So Saturday night's watch-along, and Steve might join me for this one, and hopefully we'll have some more people on here as well, live on the stream with me. For My Bloody Valentine, the original Canadian slasher classic in my opinion, there is no substitute for this movie. Or just isn't. Good Lord. Maybe taking a cat nap wasn't such a hot idea. Sunday's watch along will be for My Girl. Don't know how many guys or if we'll have any guys at all in the watch along for that. But hell, I'm still looking forward to doing a watch along for My Girl. The movie Munchies for Sunday, starting around 3 p.m. Eastern Time, will be for My Bloody Valentine chocolate heart-shaped cupcakes with red frosting and pickaxes buried in the middle of them. So that should be fun as well. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. All right. So, now that I got all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get to these movies, shall we? I'm not expecting this one to be a very long one. I am off from work tomorrow. I did take a day off. So I'm going to try to get a little extra sleep tonight. So hopefully I'll be fresh and raring to go for tomorrow. So I don't intend on spending, a whole heck of a lot of time, but I did want to do this show. And I did want to talk about these movies. So the first movie, as I said, is Alligator. This is the 4K. And some people might think, why in the world did they have to make a 4K of Alligator? Well, I mean, it looks pretty damn good. I've watched it on 4K. And the core of this movie is that old urban legend about these kids would get baby alligators, and when they got too big, the parents would flush them down the toilet, where they ended up in the sewers. They grew gigantic in the sewers and would eat, animals and or people that would end up down in the sewer. Okay, so Alligator expands a little bit on that urban legend. Not only do we have a baby alligator getting flushed down the toilet while the little girl's away at school, Ramon is his name, and he grows gigantic because there is a lab that is doing experiments on dogs and cats. They send this guy that owns a pet shop, played by Sidney Lassick, and he goes out and basically steals people's dogs that are out on the road or get strays, and he brings them to this lab, and they do tests on them, and they give them some kind of like a growth hormone or something, but all the dogs keep dying. So guess what? They don't want anybody to find out they've been killing dogs and cats and stuff. So they have the pet store owner take them down to the sewers. And guess who else is down the sewers? Ramon, who is grown now, and he eats on these animals, and he becomes, like I said, gigantic. And eventually he decides he's going to come out of the sewer and cause havoc. Now, I love the storyline. I mean, it is a fantastic storyline, or fantastical. And yeah, it's more than likely not really going to happen. Right? But it's still fun. It's almost like a monster movie to me. Or Nature Gone Awry, or Nature Gone Amok, kind of a sort. So, this is also from director Louis Teague, who also did Cujo. And the screenwriter was John Sayles, who wrote The Howling. So, I just absolutely have a lot of fun with this movie every time I watch it. And for me, there's one other thing that makes this movie special for me. And that is Robert Forster in the lead cop role. Okay, no matter how Robert Forster may have looked when he got older, hey, we're all going to get old, right? And this movie, ooh, he was hot. You know, I love watching him act, but he was easy on the eyes during this movie. And, you know, he was the leather jacket wearing type of cop. You see him go to the pet store and get a dog from the pet store owner that's doing these nefarious things for this lab. And, you know, Robert Forster is talking about how one of his other dogs disappeared, and pet store owners kind of trying to play it off. He's like, yeah, it's a shame. Sometimes that happens. And you know that probably his dog ended up down the sewers as food for Ramon. So, on one trip where the pet store owner goes to dump some dogs, he wants to dump them like in water or waste products so people wouldn't see them. You know, when the sewer workers come in there to do their thing, they don't see all these dead, gigantic dogs. Um, so he drops, you know, he throws them off of this. Um, he's on one upper level, and he just is throwing the animal bodies off. And one of them doesn't land in the water in the waste byproduct. It lands on like a metal landing or whatever. And he's like, oh shit, you know, I gotta do something about that. So he goes down there to try to get it hidden. And guess who shows up? Ramon shows up and eats the pet store owner. And evidently, Ramon's been eating quite a few people. And they're only finding parts of them. So, needless to say, Robert Forster is knee deep in body parts. Because that's all they're finding. Like, they might find a leg or an arm or whatever, but they're not finding whole bodies. So, some people might not think of this as a horror movie per se. Kind of like Jaws or something like that. I think this has been referred to as like Jaws on land. I mean, you can tell once the alligator comes out of the sewers, especially, that it's fake. But it's still just so much fun. Even sometimes when you know it's a man or a woman in a rubber suit type of thing, you still like it. When you watch Jaws, you know that shark's not a real shark. But you can believe for that amount of time that this menacing shark is in the water, right? So, if you can suspend disbelief, you can believe that this gigantic alligator, Ramon, is running around causing havoc all over the town. Okay? So, if you have not seen Alligator, I urge you to try to find a full free copy of this. Because it is just, like I said, it's a popcorn film. It's a fun film. And I recommend it. So what's my rating for this? And for, you know, the transfer of the 4K. And some people might think, once again, that I'm being generous with this. But because I have so much fun with it, I got to give it 5 deadites out of 5. Okay? So that is Alligator. If you're at all interested in buying it, I would suggest, you know, the 4K version if you have the ways and means to watch it in 4K. There is also a Blu-ray in this package as well that has a bunch of special features on it as well. And there is audio commentary with Louis Teague and Robert Forster on both the 4K and the Blu-ray as well. So, the next one we want to talk about. Oh my gosh, wacky craziness ensues in this. And that's Alone in the Dark. This is the Alone in the Dark from 1982. This is a Robert Shea production. It's like one of the first things New Line Cinema ever did. Written and directed by Jack Schroeder, who would go on to work on some Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, right? So, this was before Freddy Krueger, and they always called Freddy Krueger or the Nightmare on Elm Street film the house that Freddy built, basically. But you have Jack Palance on this, Donald Pleasance, Martin Landau, Dwight Schultz is on this as well. You may remember him from episodic television. Hey, Russell. I want to say maybe he was on the A-Team. I'm getting all kinds of notifications on Facebook. So there is this is a creepy ass film too, but it's a lot of fun. So there's a secluded mental institution, and electricity fuels the locks and everything at this mental institution. It's supposed to keep everybody in the neighborhood safe from deviant menaces like Frank Hawks, played by Jack Palance, and Preacher, played by Martin Landau. Dr. Bain, that is Donald Pleasance's character, maintains strict order, and a new doctor is supposed to come in, the A-Team's Dwight Schultz. So Dr. Potter arrives in town with his family, and these guys, of course, are mental patients, and they are convinced that Dr. Potter killed their other therapist when their other therapist just has moved on. So they want to kill him. So then there's a power outage all over town. Guess what? These guys get loose. Okay. So there's one guy that you never see his face, and he is simply referred to as the Bleeder. So that is definitely going to come into play later on in the film. So they break out, they get weapons and stuff. The slashing and killing and all that ensues almost immediately. And also keep in mind, this was during the time where people were protesting against nuclear weapons and nuclear power plants and all of that. So Dr. Potter's wife and his sister, who's a little flaky, and had a nervous breakdown prior. And so his flaky sister and his wife decide they're going to go to this protest about nuclear power plants. Well, they get arrested, and they meet this guy, and he ends up coming home with them because Dr. Potter's flaky sister has taken a shine to this guy. Okay? And I'm going to give a spoiler here. So, for those of you that have not seen Alone in the Dark, you might want to step away or plug your ears. Or whatever. So, Let me give you a little bit of time to prepare. Okay. So remember when I talked about the bleeder and how you had not seen his face, but he was with these other guys from the mental hospital. Okay. The bleeder turns out to be the guy that Dr. Potter's sister took a shine to. So he's in the house with them. The other guys from the mental hospital are converging upon Dr. Potter's house. There's no power. So I just love the way this is filmed. It's got a lot of recognizable names and faces in this. And for those of you that were interested in the New York punk scene at this point in time in the early 80s, we have a punk band called the Sick Fucks, who sang songs like Chop Up Your Mother. And they actually go to a Sick Fucks concert as well before the power goes out. So there's a lot of black humor in this, a lot of scary scenes, a lot of creepy scenes, and including one particular scene where they're driving around trying to look for Dr. Potter, and they see a mail carrier on a bicycle, and Mark Landau's character, a preacher, says, "I want that hat." And so he gives this really creepy grin. I've never seen Martin Landau give this type of grin before. And it's just bone chilling. And he laughs and carries on. Well, basically, they run over the mail carrier, and Martin Landau, preacher, gets his hat. So this is considered one of the most memorable and terrifying cult horror films of the 1980s. Like I said, it was directed by Jack Shoulder, who also did The Hidden. It has gory makeup effects from Tom Brumberger from Don't Go in the House. I'm sure you guys and gals have heard me talk about that movie before. And Tom Savini as well. You definitely have seat jumping scares. This one's got it all. It's got that, as they refer to it on the back of this case, pitch black humor. But you also have these gory kills. You have suspense. You have this pervading creepiness that goes through the entire film. And one of the most memorable endings to horror movie or otherwise that I can remember. So this is not a 4K. This is the Blu-ray from Screen Factory, and you get a 2K scan from the Interpositive. You get an interview with director Jack Shoulder. You get audio commentary with Jack Shoulder, which is very good. An interview with actress Carol Levy, who I believe plays the babysitter in this. An interview with underground New York punk favorites, the Sick Fucks, and author Adam Rockoff, and you get a theatrical trailer. Russell, you say been watching all day. Is all videos about killer kids. Over 6 hours of videos, more gruesome than any horror slasher. I'm sure it is, Russell. But I think at this point in time, I mean, not that I don't watch stuff like that, but I'm keeping my horror fake right now, fictional. So what do I give as far as a rating for Alone in the Dark? Well, once again, you guys might think I'm totally full of shit. I'm going to give this one 5 deadites out of 5. This one's also going to get my highest rating, not only for the movie itself, but also for the special features, the transfer, the whole package. So again, if you can get a for free version of Alone in the Dark, 1982's Alone in the Dark. There's other movies titled Alone in the Dark, but it's set no substitutions. 1982's Alone in the Dark is definitely the one to watch. Okay, so I told you guys and gals this wasn't going to be too awfully long of a show for several different reasons. But, I feel like there's only so long you can go on about these movies before it becomes monotonous. So, the last movie I'm going to talk about tonight is American Gothic. You have Rod Steiger and Yvonne DiCarlo in this movie as Ma and Paul. And they ain't no kindly old Ma and Paul. They're killers who I don't think you're ever really sure, and they probably didn't want you to be sure of whether these were their kids grown up, the ones that they have. Michael J. Pollard plays one of the kids, or if they kidnap and shattered the psyche of these two individuals when they were children. So you're never really sure which. So 6 young friends fly off on a weekend getaway, and then they've got engine trouble. This isn't like a big, turbo jet or anything like this. This is a single engine plane. So when the engine trouble happens, guess what? They gotta land. And so they go off looking for shelter. And at first, they're extremely grateful when they find Ma and Paul and their children. They're described as an eccentric family living in the backwoods as if it's still the 1920s. But for those of us that have seen enough movies like this, that's never a good thing. But then the old school hospitality becomes a terrifying race for survival when one by one the friends start disappearing and dying horrible deaths. So basically, what the family has done is they think the outside world is dangerous and evil and all of that. They've created an island domain where all strangers are sinners and the killing has never stopped. So, like I said, you pretty much have an all-star cast. Rod Steiger from In the Heat of the Night, Yvonne DiCarlo from The Munsters, Michael J. Pollard, Bonnie and Clyde, and William Hootkins from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, I'm not sure if this is an all Canadian production or a partial Canadian production or what, but one of the girls from the original Meatballs movie is in this, and as if this movie wasn't creepy enough, what happens is the main girl just gets out of a mental hospital because we see, and I'm surprised they showed this. They may not even be able to show this today. She's a new mother, has a baby, and you see the baby in the bathtub. And first of all, I don't understand. Of course, there wouldn't be any movie if it happened this way. First of all, I don't know why she wouldn't put a small baby into one of those little bitty baby bathtubs, right? Or put it in the sink or the kitchen sink or whatever. There's pictures of me as a not as necessarily as a tiny baby, but pretty, pretty small, naked in the kitchen sink. And, you know, there's other pictures of me as a baby laying naked on bed because parents thought that was cute back then to take pictures of their kids naked. Now it could probably get you in trouble if you put pictures like that on, like, say, Facebook or something. But, so she gets a phone call. She leaves the baby in the bathtub. And you know this is not going to turn out well. She comes back and the baby's dead. The baby's drowned. That was probably for me the most horrifying scene in the movie. So she basically has a nervous breakdown and has to be hospitalized. So the beginning scene is her husband coming to get her, and he's like, you know, you see a scene where he's talking to her psychiatrist, and you know, the psychiatrist agrees that within reason, a getaway with friends would be good for her and help with her recovery. But when they get involved with Ma and Paul and their two kids, two adult kids, things really, really go awry. And it doesn't end well. I'll just say that. And so this is the one that I'm going to give a little bit of less of a. I mean, I'm not going to give it 5 deadites out of 5, but I am going to give it 4 deadites out of 5 because it's still great. Just in my opinion, not as great as the other two. In fact, all 3 of these were put out by Scream Factory. I can hear the Dead Pit boys screaming right now about that. I can't believe he bought those, you know. So I would recommend American Gothic as well if you can find a for free copy. I like this tagline too. The family that slays together stays together. And everybody remembers the old American Gothic painting, right? So this is a twist on that. And you can see the friends back there in the an attic room screaming to get out, basically. I remember seeing that VHS cover when I was a kid and going to the video rental places, and I think that's actually the first time I saw it. That's how I saw it, was I rented it. You talking about American Gothic, Blissful? That movie freaked you out when you first watched it? Yeah, I think it would freak most people out. Um, but for any of you that have not seen it, you may want to consider buying it, but I would watch it for free first. But I will tell you that the only 2 special features on this disc are an interview with composer Alan Parker and a theatrical trailer. So not as much stuff as the other 2 movies. But I can highly recommend all 3 of these films. Again, Alligator, Alone in the Dark, and American Gothic. So, I can probably stay on here about 5 more minutes and then I'm probably going to call it a night. I've been on here about 35 minutes. I'm feeling a little more awake as well, which is a good thing. So if there's anything that you guys and gals want to ask me or comment on or anything like that, feel free in these final minutes that I'm going to be on here. I started to ask Jay But I didn't know if he had seen all these movies, if he'd even be interested in wanting to talk about them. So um, I didn't end up, asking him to come on. You love the movie choices? Well, I'll be totally honest with you guys and gals. I am literally just pulling these off my shelf. I'm pulling three in alphabetical order, and then I'm going to another three and another three. So every time I do one of these triple threat review shows, I would basically be pulling the next three horror films off of my shelf. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, Blissful, and I'm liking your profile pic too, as well. Um, oh, and also just wanted to let you guys and gals know that I will be drinking a Moosehead. I'm sure Russell knows what Moosehead is. Canadian beer. Um, I'm going to be drinking that as we navigate through My Bloody Valentine on Saturday night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, of course. I hope we can have a big crowd in here for this. Um, I don't know if the Dead Pit Boys are going to be doing anything that night, but even if they are, I'm still going to carry on and do my thing as well. Oh, Blue, so you say it represents balance. Ironic because I'm clumsy. And Blissful, I also owe you at least one other message because I saw you message me back. So I will definitely be responding. And Candace has sent me a message as well. So, in these last 2 minutes, if you guys and gals have suggestions for watch alongs, for movies you'd like me to review, um, especially those of you that are paying a monthly fee to me, I owe you some reviews and things like that, depending on what tier you are at. Which reminds me, I'm going to have to ask Darren if there's another couple of movies or whatever that he wants me to review. Because I enjoy doing that. I enjoy seeing new stuff. And a lot of times, especially with Darren, he's been spot on with giving me stuff that I really, really enjoy. And it's like, how in the hell did this slip under my radar? So just let me know. You don't have to necessarily let me know here. You can let me know in another stream, or if you're my friend on Facebook, you can send me a message on Facebook. Yes, Blissful, I totally agree with that. Darren comes up with the most amazing movies. And I can always count on him to come up with something great. But you guys and gals keep an eye out for the new commercials, the new t-shirt designs. If the links I'm given to get on the TeePublic store do not work for you, please let me know. And I will certainly look into it. But it is now 8:40. So rather than ramble on until infinity, I am going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I will see everyone on the flip side. TJ missed it. Maybe he can watch it at another time. Thank you, Blissful. And I'm really going to get out of here now. Y'all have a great night, and I will see you next time.